Skyrim is a cold and harsh country full of some of the most dangerous and aggressive creatures in Tamriel. While you might have to fight off some bandits to get them, it also contains a vast array of weapons and spells to deal with. But what if you decided to forego weapons and magic? Today, I intended to answer the question, can you beat the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim with only shield bashing? Alright, getting started, I woke up in a carriage next to a horse thief and the High King. I went with Argonian for two reasons, and only one of them is good. First, I thought they started with 25 block, but they do not. Second, I knew I was going to get the hell beat out of me by all manner of wild animals, and I figured some disease resistance would save old Blocky from a trip to the Riften Clinic. It did not. This guy got mad for no reason. He really lost his head. The Imperials tried to kill me for making such a terrible joke, and I really don't blame them. Great-grandpa Alduin wanted me to live though, so he yelled at them. I made my escape up a tower before watching Hadvar use instant transmission to meet me at the fort. Once inside, I let Hadvar take care of the Stormcloaks by himself. I don't believe in civil war, and also I'm lazy. Once that's done, I loot the Stormcloaks to get my first shield, and the game can finally begin. We find some more Stormcloaks downstairs, and I give them a good whack just to see how this run is gonna go. Well, this is gonna be fun. I'm glad I've got Hadvar here to beat him up in the beginning. We made our way further down to a room full of spiders, and I tried to sneak past them, but they saw me, so I just booked it. It wasn't fair. They have like 8 times as many eyes as me or something. Right as I exit the cave, God Howard speaks to me and asks me if I want to make the game even harder. I decline, and I head down to go touch some stones. After that, I stop off at Riverwood and convince Alvor I know a guy who knows a guy, so he gives me everything in his pocket. In keeping with the theme of taking everything I want with no regard for others, I head down to Chillafurrow Farm and I rob the farmers of their crops. Afterwards, I head up to Whiterun at the inn, and I use those crops to make the one item that makes this entire run possible: vegetable soup. Restoring 1 HP and 1 stamina per second allows me to shield block at the speed of light. Yeah, on second thought, maybe this run won't be so bad at all. Afterwards, we go up to Dragon's Reach to sit on Santa's lap and let him know we want a spiky shield for Christmas. One of Santa's elves needed a special stone from a cave, so we headed up to Bleak Falls Barrow to kill the Christmas zombies and get it for him. Normally this wounded spider can be a bit of a pain early on, but this shield just kinda trivialized it. I think this is actually going to be fun. I'm not going to suffer at all in this run. Okay, maybe I'll suffer a little. On the way back to Whiterun, I saw some Thalmor walking up the road and decided to pick a fight. It was worth it. I was almost back to Whiterun when the Whiterun guard decided they just didn't like me anymore and decided to shoot me and stick me with swords. How friendly. I tried to leave them alone and ran away, but this guy followed me all the way to Fort Greymore. So I did the courtesy of introducing him to some new friends. Afterwards, I headed back to Dragon's Reach to turn myself in for the whopping 40 gold bounty, and then I took Farengar his fancy rock. Right afterwards, Farengar didn't give me anything for helping him out, and then a Whiterun guard from the watchtower that just tried to murder me burst in and said that there was another dragon. As if that wasn't enough, the Jarl proclaims that because I've seen a dragon, that makes me more qualified than anybody else to kill one, and asks me to go and fight it. I was actually going to say no and let them deal with the dragon by themselves, but then Santa gave me this cool new shield, so I had to go help them. I left Whiterun to go and kill this dragon for Balroof, but I ended up at Altan somehow, so we're going cave dwelling. Once inside, this crazy cat guy tried to kill me because he thought I stole his skooma, when in fact he had just drank all of his skooma. I know because I checked. I got a little deeper into the cave and I found some Falmer, and I decided to push him off the ledge deeper into the cave. Nobody wants to see that. The last real enemy I had to fight in the cave was one of those Dwemer Centurions, and well, it was a lot easier than the Rogger Overlord at the end of Bleak Falls Barrow, that's for sure. Really, dude? What the hell? Why are you hitting me? The whole reason I came here is for this other guy's shield. Here we go. This might as well be Argonian Christmas. Alright guys, that's it. We've done it. We've proven you can beat Skyrim with only shield. Nah, I'm just kidding. Alright, let's get the rest of this done. And as soon as I got back to Whiterun, I had the Alakir, the Courier, Durak, and the Greybeards all trying to talk to me all at the same time. Nobody can wait their turn. Once I finally got back to Santa and told him the dragon was dead, he made me an honorary elf and then told me that the real Santa lives on a mountain at the top of the North Pole. So it looks like I've got some climbing to do. I finally got to the bottom of the mountain and I asked these guys where the elevator was, but they told me instead that I needed to take some food up to Santa, and since there's no elevator, I've got 7,000 or so steps to climb. After a very long climb, I finally dropped off the food. Santa told me to yell at him, so I hit him with my shield instead. Afterwards, they took me outside and taught me how to go fast. I only wish they'd taught that to my father when he left to go get milk 15 years ago. They told me to delve into another dingy cave and find another artifact so that I could prove my worth. Zombies and skeletons and spiders, oh my. So I fought my way to the end of the cave, only to find out that somebody else had been there first and stole the horn that I was supposed to be getting. Since I failed and couldn't get the horn, I went back to Riverwood and decided to drink my sorrows away at the inn. After renting the attic room for the night, I was approached by the innkeeper who accused me of being dragonborn. And you guys thought the Stormcloaks were racist. She took me into her basement and told me that Dragonborn actually means that I have the ability to suck dragon soul, and that this was the only thing that would save the world from the dragon crisis. I still didn't like it, but it was better than the slur that I thought it was. She ended her 15-minute long speech by telling me that she still didn't believe I was who she thought I was, so she had to take me to where a dragon was being resurrected so that I could prove my abilities at Dragon Solatio. When we finally arrived, I tried to put my shield up, but Alderman was pissed to see me still alive and pushed me down. Once Salotnir had finally arisen from his dirt pile, I drank a pocket full of soup and proceeded to beat the crap out of him with my shield. Once I had finally given Salotnir his not-so-happy ending, Delphine was convinced that I was who she thought I was, and she decided to make me climb a mountain to go and attend a party. Once there, I decided to feed Roslin's crippling alcohol addiction in order to create a distraction long enough for me to slip away and get the evidence I needed. Once I had my trusty shield back, it didn't take me long to find the book that told me the guy I was looking for was probably in a sewer somewhere reading books. Lovely. Right as I was about to leave the way I came, some Thalmor bust through the door with a key to a secret hatch that was way quicker, so I just beat the shit out of them and took it. Once I got back to Riverwood, I told Delphine about the guy living in the sewers with some books, and she told me that he was the world's most renowned collector of Alduin fanfic, and that if anybody knew anything about Alduin, it was probably this guy. So I had to go and save him from those elves. Down in the sewers and still enough to find my dad, but I did find Esbern, and he told me that if Alduin was back, then the Elder Scrolls and the Reddit moderators on r/Alduin agree that him being back means the end of the world, and that only a soul-sucking dragonborn like myself can actually save the world. Quite annoyed by this news, I kinda just took off for the exit and let Esbern fend for himself. If he makes it to Riverwood, cool. If not, Nah, I don't really care. Back at Riverwood again, and sadly he did make it, so we start talking to Delphine, and they agree that the best bet for finding out more about Alduin is to go and talk to a wall in another cave on another mountain. Fast forward to another cave on another mountain, and there's an entire camp of Forsworn right out front the entrance to this, so I just climbed the mountain and jumped down in front of the entrance and went in without them noticing. I delivered a few bonks to a couple of Forsworn that were chilling inside, and then solved a couple of puzzles before making it all the way to Alduin's wall. Once we finally reached the wall, Esbern talked to it, and it told him that the ancient Nords yelled at Alduin, and it made him so mad that he fell to the ground. Armed with the newfound knowledge that sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will still hurt you, I went back to the wall Santas on the mountain and asked them if they knew how to make Alduin angry enough to come down and fight me. Once there, Santa told me that he didn't believe in violence, and of course I knew from personal experience that this just meant that he was lazy. So I forced them to teach me to yell at the weather until it moved away from me, and I climbed up to the top of the mountain. Once I got to the top, I met a friendly dragon who told me that he was an Italian plumber and that he could get me a good deal if I needed any work done. He also told me that he didn't know what it was the ancient Nord said that pissed Alduin off so much, but that he did know how I could figure it out. He said that the Dwemer had a piece of paper that could let me look through time, and that I had to go and find that first, and then read it on the top of, you guessed it, a mountain. I was sick and tired of hearing about Alduin at this point, and knowing that I could get this scroll and watch that episode of Price is Right that I missed last week, I took off, trying to find somebody that knew the location of this Elder Scroll. After swimming north for a few days, I found a man named Septimus, and he told me about a place called Blackreach. And because this place sounded vaguely Dwemer, and I had been looking for quite a few days now, I decided to just go there and hope for the best. Turns out that the entrance to Blackreach just so happened to be at the bottom of a Dwemer ruin that I already cleared out earlier to get my shield. So I strolled on down and opened the stairway to Blackreach. Nice and easy. Once I finally made it to Blackreach, I just made a beeline straight for the Elder Scroll, because honestly, I knew that the Ancient Nord cutscene on the Throat of the World was coming up, as well as the War Council in High Hrothgar, and I really was just ready to get those over with, so I wasn't looking to spend any more time in Blackreach than I already had to. I made it to the Elder Scroll and just started smashing buttons like I'm playing a Death Knight in World of Warcraft, and just like in World of Warcraft, it just so happened to work out. Once I got to the Throat of the World, I opened up the Elder Scroll and took a look into the past to learn how to be the best bully I can be. Back in the past now, and we find out that the ancient Nords didn't actually yell at Alduin, they instead threw purple Gatorade on him. Understandably, this pissed Alduin off, so he nibbled on one of their friends. Well, nibbled until they died. In response to this, Esbern's great-grandpa made Alduin read some of his fan fiction, and it pissed Alduin off so bad that he jumped forward in time so that he could kill Esbern, just for this discretion. Back to the future, and Alduin came to the Sword of the World because he found out that I hadn't added him on MySpace. I called him a boomer for still having MySpace, and after beating him up with my shield, he decided to fly to Sovngarde and pick on dead people. I asked the Italian plumber how to get to Sovngarde, but he told me that only dragons know how to do that, and since he's not a dragon, I'd have to capture one somehow and convince it to tell me. Before doing that, though, I had to go back to Dragon's Reach and Whiterun and convince Santa to let me use his house to trap a dragon. He told me that he wanted me to end the war and bring peace to all of Skyrim before he would let me trap a dragon in his castle. Since I'm firmly against participating in things that require me to do work, I headed up to High Hrothgar and asked Arngir if he would let me host a peace council in his, house. I'm the main character, so obviously he said yes. That means that all that was left to do was go and convince Ulfric and Tullius to meet at High Hrothgar, and then we could get the Alduin fight done and over with. Ulfric said that he would come, but only if General Tullius came. Then General Tullius said that he would come, but only if Ulfric came. Once we got to the top of the mountain, it looked like everybody had showed up, even some people we didn't want here. At first, I had planned to be fair and kind of give equal land to both sides so that everybody would walk away happy. But then I remembered that the Imperials were straight up gonna cut my head off even though I wasn't on the list and nobody had seen me before. Yeah, screw those guys. 20 real-life minutes later, Tullius was crying like I had just stepped on his sandcastle, and Ulfric tipped his fedora to me, so it was time to head back to Dragon's Reach and trap a dragon. Back at Dragon's Reach, and Odahviing decided that he was gonna fly through walls just to beat the shit out of this Whiterun guard. After that, for the first time in my 800 hours of Skyrim, Odahviing decided to fight us instead of walk into the trap. Balgruuf and Irileth just went and got smoked. It was entertaining, but I'd rather just get this over with. After watching Santa get roasted for a while, I decided to finally lure Odahviing into the trap and to question him about the whereabouts of heaven and how I would get into there. He told me that only the cool kids with wings got to get to heaven, but that he would take me there if I promised not to suck his soul. So I guess we're flying now. Understandably, there was a couple of dragons and some zombies there protecting the actual portal to heaven, so I killed them real quick and got on with it. One of the last real challenges in the game before you win and, end the end of the world is Nakreen, the dragon priest that guards the staff that opens the portal to Sovngarde. It's a well-known fact that you can just sprint past him and jump into the portal before he takes the staff off of the podium, but seeing as everything else was pretty easy so far, I kind of wanted some kind of challenge before the end of this, and we all know that Alduin's not that, so I quickly re-deadify Nakreen and his Storm Atronach and grab the staff. Looks like it's on to the afterlife. Turns out that heaven is foggy as shit, and you gotta yell at the sky a lot just to get anywhere. Despite this, I make my way to Soon, who is the other last challenge before the end of the game, and he nearly beats me to death. Thanks, Soon. I make the long walk across the Bone Bridge, and I finally arrive at Shores Hall. The end of the game. I can almost taste it. I convince the ancient Nords to come outside and yell at the sky with me. Despite the fact that we were outside, we still woke Dad up, so he came out of his room and proceeded to beat the shit out of us. In the end, though, we prevailed, and Alduin decided that rather than Esbern's grandpa reading him more of his fanfics, he would just explode himself and do away with the end of the world. And with that, I drank one more bowl of vegetable soup, and I proved that you can beat Skyrim with only shield bashing. Thank you to everyone who stuck around this long. This was a really fun challenge that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I never really got around to hitting the record button. This video was obviously inspired by the one and only Paul of Mitten Squad. This may be the end of the video, but the real game has only just begun. Thank you, Paul. This one's for you.